Hi everyone, Nova here again from Brighter Outlook Counselling Service with this week's live stream Narcissistic Abuse Recovery Question, Answer and Support session. Thank you for joining me here tonight. It's great to have you back. Wow, the week goes so quickly. I can't believe it's been 7 days already since I did the last live stream. Really look forward to these nights, guys. As you join, please just comment your questions below. Tonight we've got David Demars joining us from Las Vegas in the States, and I think I can see David there already. That was quick, David. So I'm just going to try and let David in and add. Got Miller Jade there. Hey Miller, how you going? Thank you for joining us. Okay, it's a bit slow tonight. Where's David? There you are.
Hi.
Hi David.
Hello.
How are you?
How are you? Great.
Yeah, pretty good. How are you?
Good. I'm great.
Good.
Trying to wake up.
Did you get a few hours sleep in before we start tonight?
About an hour.
About an hour? Oh, well, you're looking pretty fresh.
Oh, good. Good.
Yeah.
I'm awake.
Cool. Okay. David, I think you were like the first in. So just as you join, we've got a few people join that I haven't said hello to. So I'll just see who's here. Okay, we've got Miller Jade there, says hi Nova and David. We've got Aletha Goodrick here. Hi Nova and David from Redcliffe, Australia. Monique Anderson watching from Washington, DC. Some from out your way, David. Angie Hub says hi Nova and David. Monique says it's 4 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Oh my goodness, Monique, you either got up early or you stayed up really, really late.
Thank you.
And we've got Jessica Marie whoops, just lost the air conditioning remote. Jessica Marie says, I've been hanging out to see you. Awesome, Jessica, I'm so glad you're here. Okay, who's that? Rebecca Millard's here as well. Hi, Rebecca. Okay, David, did you want to introduce tonight's topic? Or did you want me to?
I think you should. I think you should. It was your idea. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. We've got Annabelle Smith there watching from Sydney, Australia. Hey, Annabelle. Guys, just before we get into tonight's topic, make sure you say hi, say whereabouts you're from in the world, and yeah, just comment your questions below, and David and I, as always, will try and get around to answering as many as we possibly can. Miller Jade says, loving the silver chair tonight. Yeah, I have a different colour chair for every week. Have you noticed that, Miller? Yeah, no, it's not a new chair. It's just a new cover. Yeah, I thought I was being really tricky there, but you're on to me, Miller. We've got Hayley Irving there watching from Melbourne, and Rachel Ann says, hi, Nova and David from Adelaide. Miller's from Sydney. Hey, guys. Okay, so yeah, David and I, as usual, had a bit of a talk to decide what we were going to talk about. And I thought it would be interesting just, I don't know, just with everything that's going on with laws and you know, laws changing overseas and things like that, to talk a little bit about narcissistic abuse as it relates to domestic violence. Because as we know, David, just from the people that come to see us, people don't even realise a lot of the time that what they are going through is a violation of their rights. It is domestic violence, it's illegal, and I guess due to the insidious nature of you know, the abuse by the narcissist and just the gradual wearing down and the gaslighting, it's no wonder that victims of narcissistic abuse totally minimise, you know, what they've been through, and don't actually equate a lot of the stuff that they've been through with domestic violence. You know, thought that's what we'd have a bit of a chat tonight about. So, David, what I found with people who come to see me is that, and I'm sure you would have had the same, they will they will mention some absolutely horrendous behaviors by the narcissist. And simply because they didn't have any broken bones, they'll kind of just brush over it. They'll go, well, you know, he or she, they didn't actually, you know, hit me, Nova, but, you know, they barred me in a room. They wouldn't let me get out of the room. They came close to my face and screamed in my face or screamed in my ear. They, you know, they held me back and wouldn't let me pass them. But, you know, that was all, you know, and they kind of brush over it. And I'm just like, whoa, let's go back and talk about that, because just the way they talk about it, it's like, it's just, yeah, they're even minimizing their own abuse, which we need education around, because that's abuse.
Yeah, right. Yeah. I mean, you don't know what people have grown up with seeing and watching as well. Maybe they watch their parents do this, you know? Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And I suppose, yeah, well, when kids grow up and they see that kind of stuff in their own home, and you know, mum and dad are doing that to each other, or one of them's doing it to the other parent, I guess this becomes normal, you know, and they tend to normalize it, you know, when they get into their own relationships. And as we know, you know, childhood trauma and that shame that goes along with that trauma is just, you know, a recipe for that correlation is just so clear, that recipe for, you know, being involved in toxic relationships when they're older, and normalizing this kind of stuff. And that's what we want to change. Yeah.
Yeah, our parents are our model for a relationship, the idea of what love is, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So that's what we learn it from. And, you know, and these kinds of things happen over time. Most people that are being abused, it's not right away. We know that. You know, it's a little bits at a time. You know, most often abusive relationships begin with financial abuse. And like you said, people aren't even realizing they're being abused or physically abused. They're not realizing they're being financially abused, financially exploited. Um, and we could go down the line. They don't realize that they're being sexually abused. They don't realize they're being emotionally abused, physically, financially. Yeah, all of it. Yeah.
Yeah. And
Real common.
or they're thinking that the behavior that their partner is engaging in wasn't that bad, as in they've been taught, they've been conditioned by their partner a lot of the time, that the abuse is coming under the guise of caring. You know, like financial abuse, you find that, yeah, it often starts with that. But the abuser will be so manipulative as to make out that, you know, their partner is no good at doing the finances, or they just want to help out, and that's something they want to take control of, you know, just so that person doesn't have to worry about it. And, you know, they're not very good at it anyway. And so this is kind of the brainwashing that sets up the abuse, because the partner thinks that the person is doing this because they care about them and they want to look after them, whereas we know it's really just all about power and control, and taking, you know, control of everything.
That's right. I mean, I've seen some of the worst manipulation where a man will get books and information on what is a good marriage, what is a good relationship, and just simply read it off to his wife and say, you need to do this for me, you need to do that for me, you need to do this for me. And he doesn't have to do anything. Well, it says right here, this is what a good relationship is, that a woman does this for the man. And, you know, I mean, but no reciprocation. And she's out there doing everything she can and doesn't realize she's being abused.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I've heard of people, you know, I had someone come to see me a long time ago that her abusive ex would give her forms to sign, and say, oh, you know, don't worry about it. It's just, you know, it's nothing. And meanwhile, you know, I think she'd signed over, you know, either her house or something as major as that, and she just lost everything. And, you know, I guess what comeback did she have, because she knew she was signing them? and she signed them willingly. But the thing is, she trusted this person, and this person was her husband. It wasn't like, you know, some con man. Well, he was a con man, but, you know, not some stranger coming in off the street. This was, you know, the person that she trusted, and she was taken advantage of. And, you know, this is domestic violence.
Yeah, sure it is. That's awful. Yeah, and common, sadly to say.
You mentioned, excuse me, David, you mentioned sexual abuse. So I thought I'd kind of touch on this because I've mentioned it a couple of times just with my my posts on Brighter Outlook in the last couple of weeks. And this is a really big topic for victims that so many people can relate to, because once again, as I guess a lot of the time with the financial abuse, they think that they are engaging in these behaviours willingly, but that a lot of the behaviour is coming under that they're being coerced, they're being manipulated, gaslighted into thinking that they owe, you know, they owe their toxic partner something, and or it's their duty and their obligation because they're their wife or the husband. And, you know, I'm talking about things like bringing another person into the relationship, you know, a third person, you know, engaging in sex while, you know, the person asleep, which is rape, you know, but they just through the gaslighting and the well, you would do this if you cared about me, and I love you, you know, I just want to be with you and, you know, do something special for us. They manipulate and the person, you know, the victim into doing things that they just don't feel comfortable with.
Coaxing, coercion, and even threats. Yeah.
Even you know, taking intimate photos. You know, I hear that all the time, taking intimate photos and then you know, threatening them with, you know, exposure and you know, letting other people see them, and or, you know, putting them on YouTube, putting them over the internet, giving them, you know, to work colleagues, and that simply to, I guess, extort them or simply just to ruin their lives. And these things, you know, are all devastating. But the thing is that those intimate photos and that were taken under the guise of, you know, we're a couple and, you know, we love each other. So what does it matter? You know, it's just us. But this is, you know, if it makes you feel uncomfortable, guys, and you've been coerced into doing it, then this is abuse. Just because you engage in a behaviour does not make you any less of a victim. And this is what a lot of people really struggle with later on, don't they, David? Because they feel like, I said yes. I said yes, so, you know, I deserve the abuse. That's basically what they say to themselves, is I deserve what happened to me.
Sure. Yeah, I think it's a real ownership, objectification. You know, you have to do this for me. You are mine. You are my girlfriend. You are my boyfriend. You're my husband. You're my wife. Yeah.
And it's simply, I guess, just it all goes back to power and control. But I guess even not like looking at things like sexual abuse, but just getting right back to psychological and emotional abuse. I know the laws changed over, I think it was in Ireland, and hopefully, you know, that's going to create a bit of a snowball effect, and you know, other countries will heed to that and will change the laws. I think, you know, gaslighting and emotional abuse is now, you know, illegal, but people are still minimizing what they have gone through, and they're not actually equating emotional and psychological abuse with domestic violence.
Yeah, you know, when we're still talking about sexual abuse, I hear things like men will come to me and tell me that their girlfriend or wife has sex with other women, and then and they've both agreed. Even he tells me they both agreed that's not cheating if it's with women. And I asked him, how do you feel about it? He said, I always hated it. Because, well, did you really
Yeah,
agree to it? He said, no, not really. And I
yeah,
said, then why did it happen? As she wanted to, and it's like, well, that's cheating. That's not right. She
yeah,
manipulated you. Yeah.
yeah,
Doesn't matter what gender, you
yeah.
know.
Exactly. It's cheating. That's right. And yeah, and look, the thing is, it's kind of a catch-22 situation a lot of the time for victims because of the reactive abuse. And I guess, as we know, with the gaslighting, they get provoked and they get provoked and they get probed until, a lot of the time they will, react as totally a normal person would. They react in frustration. And the thing is, the abuser will often, as we know, remain calm and collected. And this can be really problematic in getting these things, I guess, getting charges and things like that laid on the right person because of the reactive abuse. The abuser who instigated what was going on calls the authorities and says, look, she smashed a plate or whatever she did. And I hear this all the time where the victim, the person who's being abused will often be the one who gets, the restraining order put on them. And this is why there needs to be so much more research and discussions around emotional abuse and the effect on victims.
Yeah, well, yeah, and we need to find out why people, well, we know why, but we need to help people that are staying in abusive relationships and not leaving them. And at the end of the road, years down the road, reactionary abuse, but they should have left. Um, but yeah, I know what you're saying. If people get pushed hard enough, long enough, far enough, yeah, they will explode, and that's just human. Yeah.
Yeah, and that yeah, that's a really good point you make with the victim staying in these domestic violent relationships because of the fact, well, number one, the trauma bonding. The number two, the difficulties in getting out of these relationships. I know that with the financial abuse, these victims are they're all the finances are hidden. They've got no access to money. They've got, a lawyer is going to cost money, and they need to get legal representation. We say, you should be going to speak to a lawyer first up. Well, besides being so worn down and abused, all the money is with the abuser. So, they can go and often get the best lawyer in the world, and the victim, the true victim, has no access to resources. And there's very few lawyers out there who will do, what do you call it? Will do, the pro bono sort of stuff and get paid later. And the government won't help, they don't recognise narcissistic abuse when it comes to the family separating and divorcing, and there's no help for them financially.
No, there's not. And financial abuse is prevalent in marriages where the women, aren't working, and she's the stay-at-home mother, things like this. And, years of no job history, no savings. There's been nothing separated in finances. It's all in control of one person. And, 10, 20, 30 years down the road, and that marriage is over. And like you said, they don't have money to represent themselves in court. They don't have any
Yeah,
job history to even go get a job, really. And I mean, in this country, in America, homeless for seniors is becoming a big, big problem because of this reason. Yeah, it's
yeah,
awful. There's a lot of
and
55 plus year old women homeless and living in their cars here in this country. Yeah.
because they've been cut off from resources. It's just disgusting,
Mm.
isn't it? Um, I guess it's not even finances that are visible, David, as in, money that either the man or the woman, the abusive party, has in accounts, because just the very nature of a narcissist is that they will have, resources hidden. hidden assets, hidden resources, and they will have been pooling them away, and they will be able to fall, back on those. And perhaps, the victim has been, put on an allowance and has absolutely no clue how much, their toxic partner is earning. And if it's all hidden, what hope have they got?
Yeah, if the narcissist is in control of the money, it's bad. Usually it turns out bad, and the other partner in the relationship is deprived of things they need, typically. If the narcissist is not in control of the money, is not the breadwinner, then you're talking about a lot of exploitation, frivolous spending of money and things like this.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess what we want to, reiterate, David, is that financial abuse is it's domestic violence. It's a form of abuse, and it needs to be more widely recognised, because when victims finally work up the courage, and it takes a lot of courage, as we know, to try and break that trauma bond to their abuser, to try and leave, sometimes with just the shirts on their backs and with, little kids in tow. It's so much easier. People ask those questions. Why did you stay for so long? Well, when you have to leave with kids in tow and you don't have 1 cent to your name because your abuser has hidden all the finances, when they are threatening you, to take the kids off you, and you are so, depressed and stressed out about where your next cent is going to come from, when you've got all of these things, not to mention the abuser stalking you, just threatening you, and this is what people are up against, and this is why they stay in these violent relationships. It's easier.
Well, how many people, or maybe clients, how many people know that they were being abused as a child? So many people believe their childhood was great and don't see or recognize years of neglect or abandonment or abuse. And it needs to be pointed out to them, so they're prepared for this. What I think a major, if someone's going to be in an abusive relationship, often the people they only have to help them is a family to step in and say, oh, you're being abused, here you go. If these families are preparing these victims for this stuff, by the time they're being abused in their adult life, they turn to their families won't be there for them. They judge them. They won't even tell their families often. They'll be judged, and don't get a divorce. That will look bad for our family, or whatever. It's just they're prepared for this stuff, and by the time it happens, they don't have resources, people to be there for them, support.
What an awesome point. And also, I guess, the nature of generational abuse, where the victims, the child victims, grow up and were children perhaps in the child protection system, and they go on and have kids, and then their kids are put in the child protection system, and this just goes on from one generation to the next. And the problem, exactly, I guess, as you just said, you fall into these toxic relationships because it's familiar, it's what you're resilient, you've handled abuse when you were growing up. Perhaps you don't recognise it as domestic violence because it's what it's your little safety bubble. But then it starts to get bad. Who have you got to turn to when your parents are the people that abused you, and perhaps are threatening you to take your kids off you? And I heard that with one person here tonight. I think it was Jessica. Jessica, I did read your story today. Thank you for putting that up. Jessica said that she went into, I think, rehab and had some issues there, and her mum and dad took the kids. Her mother took the kids. But of course, every time Jessica, went to get the kids back, there would be some kind of manipulation by the narcissist mother, by the toxic mother, to keep the kids away from her. And there, I guess, there was a spiral, there was a cycle where Jessica, because she couldn't get her kids back, got really, really depressed, and then, you know, fell back into that cycle of, you know, the addiction cycle again. And the toxic mother was using her kids against Jessica. So, you know, but now that Jessica's been clean for a while, her mother's all of a sudden being really, really nice to her, which she feels is kind of manipulative, because she thinks, well, maybe that's because I've been clean for a long time now, and I may get my children back. And you know, this is the problem with cyclical, with generational abuse, is that you don't have that support in your parents, because they were the ones that abused you, and I guess became those role models, those negative, toxic role models for you, and it's just a, you know, a generational thing.
Yeah, well, I mean, parents have emotional void, and that's what the children live with, and the children are there for the parents instead of the other way around, like it should be. So they enter relationships in adult life with people that have emotional voids, and people that they're there for all the time and get nothing back. Yeah, real common.
Yeah, it's and it's familiar, isn't it, David? It's like, you know,
Sure.
this is,
Yeah, it is.
you know, I grew up with abuse. This is, you know, maybe this is as good as it gets, you know, that kind of attitude. And also, I guess we shouldn't forget the fact that when we're used to toxicity, when that's familiar to us, then on a subconscious level, we tend, without even knowing it, we tend to bypass, you know, anyone who's emotionally healthy, because
Yeah.
we find something wrong with them, or we think because there's no adrenaline pumping all the time, you know, that they're not texting us 10 times a day, we think that they're just not into us, and they you know, they
Yeah,
don't
no
care
spark.
about us. Yeah, we
Yeah.
associate caring and love. We make a direct connection between caring and love and toxicity.
Yeah.
That's what we grew up with. That's what we know, and that's, so we find ourselves in these domestic violent relationships.
Sure. I mean, you could go really extreme with that and to prove a point. And I've had, women will say, women that may have watched their fathers hit their mothers get into relationships where the husband hits them, and they say, well, I know it's wrong, but I do know that he loves me because he hits me. You know what I mean? He would only hit me if he loved me, that type of stuff.
Mm.
It's sick. Yeah. I mean, that's
Yeah,
extreme, but it happens.
yeah.
So
So I
prove
guess the awareness we need to create around domestic violence is twofold, isn't it? It's letting the victims know that what they are going through is domestic violence, because often they're just, you know, they know something's off, but they're just not aware, and they've had their boundaries managed down so far that what their idea of what is appropriate behaviour is, you know, if they're not smacked around the head every single day. If it only happens once a week, well, hey, you know, I did burn the dinner, so I deserved that. So it's twofold, in that we need to make victims aware that, hey, it is not okay to be treated like this. It is not okay to have finances withheld from you. It's not okay to be blocked in a room with their body. It's not okay for someone to come up in your space and scream in your face just because you haven't got broken bones. This is domestic violence. And the other part is, we need to educate, you know, we need more community awareness, especially as we know around narcissistic abuse. That psychological abuse is devastating, and it destroys lives.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, more education, more awareness, no gray area. This is abuse. This is wrong. And it's
Yeah.
sad that we need to do that, but we do. I think we do.
Yeah.
It's just all
Yeah.
too common that victims don't know how bad it really was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, the family court system is a classic example of that. There's just not enough awareness around the damage that emotional and psychological abuse does to victims, and there's just not enough support for them, and they're expected to go into court, you know, as a very abused, damaged person, but the abuse has not been recognised. So I guess, you know, it's a lot of pressure for someone who's that damaged to expect them to get through a court process. Yeah. Let alone be able to afford it. Yeah.
Well, you've got divorce courts here in America. Some states are called no-fault states, and that's where you can have a divorce granted on any grounds just because you want one. And what
Yeah.
happens is you have a victim come into this divorce proceedings, and the victim's so traumatized, just wants to let the courts know this person's been abusing me, and literally they'll get punished for even saying it. It's like no fault state. We don't care. We don't care. Don't want to hear it, and they'll get in trouble. Yeah, just for stating they've been abused. Yeah.
That, yeah, it's mind-boggling, isn't it? Like how do you go about, you know, if you're in court with your abuser and you're not even allowed to mention the abuse?
No,
It's,
you
yeah.
can't say it. You'll be penalized. Yeah.
So what if you can't say it, but are they allowed to put it in their affidavit?
No, they don't want to hear it. It doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
No,
Goodness.
it makes no bearing on the divorce or the like a breach of contract for the marriage. Nothing matters. You've been abused. It doesn't matter. We don't want to hear it. Yeah.
Unbelievable. Okay, David. Well, I guess we should start answering some questions. But yeah, very controversial topic, isn't it? That we need to do lots and lots more talking about because it branches out and it just affects so many people. Yeah. Okay, who have we got here tonight? Lots and lots and lots of people. So who haven't I said hello to? Annabelle Smith is here watching from Sydney. We've got Hayley Irving watching from Melbourne. Hi, Hayley. Rachel Ann's there, says hi, Nova and Dave from Adelaide. Karen Connors is there. Hi, Karen. Katrina Jordan Werner is there. Hey, Katrina. Riri's Riri? Yeah, Riri. Hi, Riri. Vix Heyman's there. Hey, Vix. Vix says, my ex was a covert narcissist, and a lot of what he did was done very subtly or by suggestion. Yeah, and that's there lies the problem, isn't it, Dave? This abuse is so, a lot of the time is so covert, and the ideas are planted there, and you know, essentially the victims are brainwashed and they're doing stuff that they're just not comfortable with.
Sure. Yeah, and, you know, a lot of this, like you said earlier, has to do with shame, how we feel about ourselves. You know, if we're at the beginning of abuse, we don't do anything about it, and we don't know what to do about it. It just makes us feel like horrible people. It's a lot of times that doesn't take much for an individual to be abused for not very long before they feel like they deserve it, and they don't stand up for themselves. They don't say anything. They don't tell people. And we know this because so many people, you guys watching, you didn't want to tell everyone exactly what was going on. A lot of you guys were being cheated on, being physically abused, things like this, and you didn't tell anybody. You're too embarrassed, too ashamed to say anything. How do you?
Yeah,
It's real hard, you know, when you're in that position.
absolutely. You know, let's just look at, you know, you know, the sexual coercion. And I know, you know, this happens so often. Victims are ashamed and they're embarrassed, and this is abuse. And you know,
Yeah.
they just don't want to talk about it because, yeah, like you said, they feel like they deserved it, and it's too embarrassing to admit, you know, that they participated in some of the things that the narcissist, you know, coerced them into doing. Yeah, so much shame.
Or men not wanting to admit that the female in the relationship was beating them, physically abusing them. That is so
Yeah,
common. And it's so
yeah,
accepted. Yeah.
yeah, and yeah, I guess that we spoke about that, you know, a couple of weeks ago, didn't we, David, with that Married at First Sight in Australia? That has generated so much controversy at the moment, and I think it will for a long, long time, about the fact that it has basically made it okay, and people are laughing about it. Radio stations are laughing about the fact that a woman abused a man. And you know, how do we expect male victims to come forward and say, hey, I was abused by a teeny tiny little woman, when that kind of stuff is being grandstanded on prime, you know, television and
I'm
teenagers.
here to tell you, it doesn't hurt any less. It doesn't hurt any less, and it doesn't cause any less damage to an individual, to a victim. Yeah.
Absolutely. It's abuse. And yeah,
Imagine
gosh.
being laughed at because you're abused. And I've heard this a lot. I've heard this a lot. I've heard, I watched a video recently. A man was in a group of mostly women, and and they were sharing turns of abuse. And when it got to his turn, he was talking about the abuse his wife was giving him. It was a pretty bad abuse. Whole room stood up and laughed at him, laughed him out of the room. That was it. I mean, this is happening. Yeah, this is.
Gosh, and this is, I guess you could make it threefold. We really, really need to create more community awareness about the gender discrepancy there with what equates to domestic violence, especially with narcissistic abuse, because as you said, it doesn't cause any less damage. And if a man came up and did that to a woman, that they would be in so much trouble, and they would be, society would crucify them. But it's just not looked upon the same when a woman does it to a man, and it's this gender divide really needs to be addressed.
Yeah, I think it's really common. My male clients typically will have been physically abused, sexually abused. Their wife or girlfriend cheated on them with other women. And all of it they didn't know was wrong.
Yeah. And they feel like, I hear that a lot too, David. In fact, I've had a couple of men come to see me in the last year where, the cheating has happened and it's been, downplayed, and the woman said something, well, I was drunk, so, big deal, get over it. That classic gaslighting with, oh, you're overreacting, it was one night, and you haven't been talking to me enough, and you've been working too much, and you haven't been giving me enough attention.
I didn't even like him.
Yeah, just totally justifying and rationalizing the abuse, and that's what it is. It's abuse. And of course, if a man comes forward about that, it's shameful. It's embarrassing. Hey, my wife, prefers to have sex with other men. You can picture that their peer group going, well, what are you not doing right that you need to go and look for it elsewhere? That type of mentality.
Yeah, I guess you're not performing very well. Yeah.
Gosh. Okay, we've got.
Or triangulation. That's another great one. Triangulation. People explaining to me these situations they were in where they were being triangulated. They were being, the husband was introducing coworkers from work, other women around, even their own friends, flirting with them, bringing their names up. I'm going to go to lunch with so-and-so. And they don't realize that this is wrong. This is wrong. It didn't just feel bad. It felt bad because it's wrong. We don't do this to each other. Yeah.
That's right.
And big one. Yeah.
Yep. And then the abuser will minimize it. Oh my goodness. I just mentioned this person's name. I just had lunch with them. You're so jealous. You're crazy. You're so insecure. Meanwhile, they have totally manufactured that insecurity, and that insecure behavior that the victim engages in is what the narcissist wants. He wants you to be insecure. She wants it.
Or where it's come to where it's only cheating if we have sex. Right.
Yeah.
So I can go on a date. I can talk to them on the phone. I can flirt with them on Facebook. I can whatever, because they're just friends.
Yeah.
And it's like, if I'm not okay with that, then that's not okay.
On what planet is that not cheating? I've even heard it come down to, if there wasn't intercourse, if there wasn't that direct, intercourse that happened, then it wasn't cheating. They can do everything else, but hey, I didn't have sex with them, so get over it. And that's just gaslighting. And a lot of the time, the victims will be so scared to leave, so scared of losing the narcissist because of the trauma bonding, that they will, I guess, with that cognitive dissonance, they will somehow either say they deserved it because, yeah, well, hey, I haven't been giving them a lot of sex lately, you know, meanwhile you haven't because they've been abusing you, or they will minimize it and go, well, yeah, they really didn't have sex, so it's not that big a deal. So, yeah, I'm not going to be a drama queen. And it's
How
just,
about, how
this is
about
a
they know all about you? They know about you. I tell them about you. They know we're together.
yeah,
Yeah.
gosh. Okay, we've got Mari France here. Mari says, or Marie says, hello from the UK. Can you please help to understand why is my ex-narc taking his new supply to same places we have been before and literally a few miles from where my family lives? David, did you want to tackle that one? Why on earth would they be taking a new supply to your, you know, places that hold memories for you as a couple?
Yeah, well, it sounds like this is somebody that's having a problem with the relationship that they were just in, that they just left and they haven't healed from the relationship. You know, I mean, that's just some weird stuff. We're going to go revisit these and make new memories at the same places. Maybe it makes him, maybe he misses you. Maybe he misses the relationship. I'm guessing. All I can do is guess, right? That's what I think. What do you think?
I think I'm going to have to differ with you a little bit. I think that it's because there was no attachment to those special places whatsoever, and they basically just bring their old life into their new life with a new partner. They just swap partners and they'll go to the same old restaurants, same old camping grounds, same old holidays, you know, of
Means
course,
nothing to
mirroring it
them.
and
Yeah.
introducing a few new things, but just swapping their old life for uh, with just swapping their partners and inserting them in old life, and it's just and also to piss you off, Marie. You know how hurtful and damaging is that to think that you know they would have absolutely no respect for those special memories that you hold dear to those sacred, you know, places to punish you because you didn't live up to your expectations of being that wonderful person on the pedestal. You lied to them. You're not as perfect as you were in the beginning, and yeah, it's all about punishment and getting enjoyment out of hurting you. They know that that hurts you, and that's why they do it.
Yeah, well, I think, a lot of sociopaths, psychopaths, narcissists, meaningful relationships is not what's really important to them. More
Yeah,
shallow things like status and money and material things is what's important to them. So, yeah,
yeah.
just to have, just to be in a relationship, just to have a significant other, I guess is, yeah, good enough for them. And so who cares where we go?
Yeah,
May not mean anything to them, but,
yeah.
I think a
The
lot of
places,
narcissists,
the
I think a lot of
places.
these
Sorry, David, go on.
I think a lot of these disordered people just don't know how to end relationships, don't know how to talk and deal with their feelings and be vulnerable and stuff. So it's like all this weird behavior that doesn't make sense, you can't understand. And on the surface, it just looks like they don't care, when I don't think that's always true. I think they do care. I think there are just differently than we may. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, we've got Haley Irving says, why do children from domestic violent homes leave then choose to go back to abusers? Is this because of the trauma bond? Yeah, we kind of touched on that earlier, didn't we, David?
Yeah.
It's got to do with familiarity, hasn't it? It's what they know. You know, toxic
Yeah.
is familiar.
Yeah, I mean, we learn what a relationship should be from watching our parents. We learn what love is by the way they treat us, things like this. So if we have, it's just normalcy, like I said before, some women that were hit by their fathers or mothers or watched hitting happen in from their between their mother and father will be often in relationships where there's hitting. If we grow up where there's fighting and arguing between mom and dad, we tend to be in relationships where we're fighting and arguing. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It's just yeah, that one word that you said there, normalcy. It's normal, Hayley. You know, if chances are, if these victims, these child victims, found themselves with a healthy person, it would seem very, very weird, and they, potentially would find something wrong with that person, and they wouldn't stay because it's unfamiliar. That, like you said, hitting, yelling, screaming. That's what love means. Perhaps sexual abuse. That's what they equate. With their brains still forming as children, they equate that with love. And this is familiar. And it's normal. And healthy relationships are totally foreign. And this is why they find themselves, Hayley, in very, very similar relationships when you get older.
And I think it's more important for people like this to be loved than to be wrong or right.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I guess also that resilience there, David, in that, hey, abuse, what's that? I put up with a lot worse than that when I was a kid. And they think that they can, now that they're an adult, they have a lot more power. They have the ability to fix, their abuser and do whatever they have to do to make things right, because they couldn't do that when they were a kid. They could not make mummy and daddy cuddle them. They could not make mummy and daddy care about them. But damn straight, I'm an adult now and I can try and fix this. And that resilience that, where they had to, I guess, adapt all those coping mechanisms to be able to survive in that war zone, they take those with them.
Yeah, they're taught that's how you get what you need. Yeah.
Yeah. Miller says, I used to brush over the violence from my ex-partner, even when he fractured my spine, oh goodness, with one punch. I questioned, was it really that bad, or am I just being a victim like he always accused me of being? Yeah, that's terrible. Yeah, that's just totally, once again, just minimizing that cognitive dissonance, minimizing, rationalizing, somehow justifying the abuse, thinking that you deserved it. And that's just the conditioning. You were conditioned to not think that this was that bad. And absolutely, it was that bad.
That's pretty extreme. Yeah.
Yeah, it's terrible, Miller. We got Tabitha Time there. Hey, Tabitha says, hi, sorry I'm late. Better late than never, Tabitha. Riri says, manipulation and control to the max. Hey, Jessica Marie. Yeah, that's what they do. Shelley Whiteley's here. Hey, Shelley. Shelley says they abuse you from day one. Yeah, they absolutely do. You just don't know it. And this is the nature of narcissistic abuse. They abuse you from day one in not telling you the truth about their motives and pretending to be a nice person. Yeah, it's, as we know, it's an illusion, isn't it, David? That it's a facade that designed to hook you in the beginning. And yeah, so really they're abusing you from day one to set you up, I guess, for further abuse.
Yeah, they're preparing you. Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, soften you up a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Rebecca Millard's there says, I was told you're my fiance. This is what a healthy relationship is. I was told that time and time again. Yeah, I think, Rebecca's obviously relating that maybe to the sexual abuse, possibly David, and that's what victims are told, isn't it? It's like, hey, you owe me. This is where we're married. Now you're my fiance. You have an obligation to fulfill. And meanwhile, your boundaries have been managed so far down that you acquiesce and you do things that you are just not comfortable with because of the abuse that you've gone through.
Yeah, I mean, most victims I see when I dive into their childhood again, they've been prepared for this. The stress on their life and the importance has all been on what you do, what you should do and not how you feel about anything. What happens is they get in relationships, and I see this a lot. I see a lot of men, like I said earlier, will research or read what is a good relationship and merely hold their wives or girlfriends to these, but they don't have to do anything. So it's like they train themselves on how to abuse better. This is what you're obligated to do for me. This is what it says right here as a good relationship. But there's no reciprocation. There's no responsibility or accountability from them. And I see this a lot with men doing this to the women. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, even things like, not just, I guess, really overt sexual abuse, where you're asked to do some things that you are just so uncomfortable with. We're talking about things like, pornography, bringing pornography into the bedroom, making you perform, like the people in the movies are performing, these kinds of things that just makes the victim's skin crawl, but they've been conditioned to feel like they're obligated to do these things for their abuser. And this is a problem because they say, yes, I will do it. That's where they have so much shame.
Well, and a lot of women don't realize that. I see that this happens, and it's sad that if the woman has had sex with a man before, they can't be raped. We've had sex before. Does that make sense? So we dated. I see this. Women, they'll date for a year, 2 years. Relationship ends. 6 months later, he contacts her. They go out, and he will rape her. But she thinks it's not rape because we've had sex before. So it's, I've let you have sex before with me. And even like I heard this recently. A woman said, we were broken up for a few months. He contacted me. They went out. She agreed to go out with him. He took her straight back to his house and he masturbated in front of her. And she didn't want to at all. She asked him to stop. Please don't do that. And she didn't realize that's illegal. You can't do this stuff like that. She has no idea. Yeah.
That's illegal and immoral, inappropriate, just wrong on so many levels. I guess this leads us into, David, rape in marriage. And this is, victims find it very difficult to talk about this stuff, and they think that it's not rape because that it was their partner, and it's just as much rape as if a stranger, commits this act, this violation of your rights.
Absolutely. This is people conditioned that what you do is more important than how you feel, and that's not true. And so then they get caught up in these things of, well, he says or she says I should do this. Well, it doesn't matter what they say you should do. How do you feel about it? You don't want to do it. Why are you doing anything you don't want to do?
Yeah.
Period. Well, because mom and dad taught him that. Taught him you need to do things like this for us. We don't care if you don't want to.
Yeah. Gosh. Rebecca. So, that obligation and that guilt that you're made to feel is what causes victims to do things that you're just not comfortable with. And this is abuse. This is absolutely 100% abuse. Tina Vanderdrift is there, says, yep, I had that too. He threatened to post it on the internet. Yeah, that is what just an absolute invasion of privacy, and a violation of your rights, and gosh, I can't even think of the words, but it's just despicable to think that those photos that you take in an intimate moment, that they will be used against you. But the thing is, being non-disordered people, we take people at face value. We don't know that we're being manipulated by an abuser, and we do it in good faith, I guess, in those intimate moments. But when you finally realise that you've been in a toxic relationship with an abuser, these are the things that come out and are used against you.
Yeah, it's pretty sad. I mean, who won't react to that?
Yeah, I mean, it sticks, doesn't it? It can absolutely destroy lives, having that kind of stuff get out.
It is every day. It is destroying lives every day. Yeah.
Yeah. Gosh. We've got Venus there. Hey, Venus, I've not seen you in forever. How are you? I'm so glad to have you back here. And I know David is. Venus says, hi, David and Nova. So good to see you
Hi,
both.
Venus.
Let's see you, Venus. Okay, we've got Tracy Burns here says, he didn't threaten me with pictures. He posted them online anyway. Oh, goodness, Tracy, I'm so, so sorry. Yeah, look, I don't know the legal ramifications of that, but you know, it can't be legal to do that. So I hope you got some legal advice around that, that Tracy, because that it's so destructive and it's a total violation of your rights.
Yeah, you have legality issues, and then you can sue him for stuff like this, for damages. That's horrible.
Yeah. Okay. Shelley says, hey, Shelley. Shelley says, I endured sexual coercion for over 10 years. Oh, my goodness. My counsellor has confirmed it was rape. He plied me with alcohol and manipulated me into believing he was owed sex. Yeah, and that's just an absolute classic example, isn't it, David? Just because you're married doesn't mean they have any entitlement to your body. Your body is your own, and a bit of paper does not make them have the right to take your body without you, without you saying yes. And even, when you do say yes without, because of threat of coercion, that's no better. So,
Total violation. Total violation. And nobody has more rights to you or your body than you do. Yeah.
yeah. And it doesn't,
I'm sorry.
marriage is not. Gosh,
I'm sorry.
so
That's
sorry,
awful.
Shelley. Vix Heyman says, my family blames me for being abused and vectuase. I'm not sure what that word is. Vectuase, I chose, because, sorry, I think it's just a typo. Because I chose to be with them. I still struggle with this now. And this is so common, isn't it? Victims getting re-victimized, getting re-traumatized because they chose to stay with their abuser. And, we've just gone through heaps of things around why victims stay in these abusive relationships. And it's so, so unfair to be blamed for, you're the victim. You're the victim, for goodness sake. Blame the abuser, but don't blame the victim for staying, because there's so many variables there. There are so many factors that lead to victims staying in these relationships. Hey, David.
Yeah, I can understand somebody's frustration, and especially someone's pain to watch someone you care about consistently being abused. But when you hear someone say they deserved it, that's awful. Yeah, because they stayed, you know.
Yeah, no one deserves to be abused. No one.
No,
And
no,
that's,
never okay. No.
yeah. So sorry. I'm so sorry about that, Vix. Uh, we got Marlene Carner there. Hi, Marlene. Says hi, Nova and David. Riri says, yeah, the abuser pretends to be the victim. So true about the reactive abuse. Yeah. Just the number one modus operandi, isn't it, David? Abuse and then blame shift. And when you react to the abuse, you become the victim, even though you've caused the reaction in the real victim intentionally. Yeah, this is what they do, and it's all 100% intentional.
Yeah, the narcissists, borderline, people like this, they are the unhealed victim, right? I mean, they've been victimized. Doesn't mean it's okay, but that's how they deal with their hurt. They hurt other people. This is a cycle that continues.
Yeah. Jessica Marie says, I was charged for abuse and spent a day in jail, 8 months pregnant. Oh my goodness. Because he called the cops and acted normally. After 10 hours of being yelled in my face, I punched him. And yeah, this is what we're talking about. Like, not that we condone, you know, hitting or violence in any way, shape, or form. But when you've been provoked and this is what the narcissist wants, it's so unfair not to have the true abuser's behaviour addressed and to have the true victim punished for reacting to the abuse. It's
Sure.
yeah.
And if this person feels like answering, did you see this in your childhood growing up between your parents? Did they fight like that? I'm interested to know. I bet they did.
Yeah. Mark Silver would say, hi, Mark. Mark says, hi, guys. What do you think of Clare's Law in the UK, where victims can now report abusers on a database, so we can now check our partner's past? I don't know too much about the law, but I have heard of it, and I think that's a fantastic idea. Do you know much about it, David?
I don't know enough about it to speak about it, no.
Yeah, no, I don't know enough to really address it either, Mark. I have heard about it, and I think, well, obviously, I think it's a fantastic idea because simply because I guess it can protect you. It can protect you because you can, you know, look at someone's past and see if they have, you know, restraining orders against them, if they've been, you know, charged with abuse, see what their history is, and I guess you can see, you know, what you're in for. And, you know, I guess a lot of people will go, you know, it's a violation of privacy, those kinds of things. But if you've got nothing to hide, you know, with regard to abuse and, you know, things like that, then why would you be worried about it? I know that a lot of people would be kind of worried about the slippery slope and, you know, it opening up the ideas for specifically for, you know, invasion of privacy. But, you know, domestic violence is such a prevalent issue in today's society that I think it's wonderful. And I think, yeah, if someone's got nothing to hide, why would they be worried about it?
I would only be worried that this is not just a board of accusations, people pointing fingers at each other. I hope this is something substantial, substantiated claims, and restraining orders and things like this. That would be good to be able to find out today. In the United Kingdom, I don't know if it's just England or if it's the entire United Kingdom. You can't pull up criminal records on people. The country doesn't allow it. I know England does not allow that. So that might be why this law is intact or in place. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. I'll definitely have to do a bit more investigating into that. Thank you, Mark. Angie Huff is here. Hi, Angie. Angie says it's great. Problem is where the abuser doesn't have a record. Yeah. And how many of us check this when we go into a relationship, especially when they're love bombing you in the beginning. I'm just going to open up your statement. Especially when they're love bombing you in the beginning and the abuse starts subtly, so it doesn't trigger you to think, is this person an abuser? That's a really, really good point, Angie. And a lot of the time we go into these relationships having come from another narcissist, you know, because we haven't learnt why we're attracted to these toxic people or why we make such a perfect target. And yeah, when you're being loved bombed, the last thing you want to do is, and the last thing you think about is checking on them as an abuser because you're too busy thinking this is amazing, you know.
Well, anyone that has any kind of history at all of like physical abuse in relationships, you'd be a good candidate to check next time if somebody's been convicted of domestic, battery, things like this. It'd be a good idea, I think, if you've been in abusive relationships, physically abusive relationships, sure, why don't you check the next one you enter? That wouldn't be a bad thing, I don't think.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea. We've got Tanya Sakainas. Hi, Tanya. Who else is here tonight? Um, Shelley says, my ex is a cop, and when I went to the police, they refused to serve a DVO on him, despite considerable evidence of abuse and rape. Oh my goodness! And this is really getting, yeah. I guess it's really, really difficult for victims here, isn't it, David? When the person who is abusing you is supposed to be one of those good guys that protects us, and essentially is being protected by their colleagues, and having everything, I guess, either dismissed or at the very least downplayed. How do you go when a victim is, married to someone that's a police officer, a politician, someone who's going to get that stuff dismissed?
Yeah. 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 I mean, here again, don't accept abuse, but, there's internal affairs, the police of the police, and this is one of the jobs in this country where they get involved in your personal life. If you're a police officer, internal affairs will investigate your personal life, your marriage, things like this. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess.
I don't know your situation. That's awful, and I know that can be tough. I've heard of many situations where the abuser is a police officer.
Yeah,
Not only are they
absolutely.
afraid to go ask for help, or maybe they do ask for help and not get it because of this. It's common.
Yeah, and I guess it would, there'd be that capacity to fill the victim with more fear because of, the power that they have, to inflict damage and to, I guess, manipulate people in the system. Yeah. So it's got to be, even more difficult for you, Shelley. Gosh.
Well, I think we're talking a lot about this stuff is threats. Threats is so prevalent in abusive relationships. Tons of threats. Biggest one I hear, it's just awful. It's so traumatizing. The threat of suicide. If you don't do this for me, I'll kill myself. If you leave me, I'll kill myself. You don't take me back, I'll kill myself. And what awful threat that is. You can threaten someone's life to take it, but to take your own and put that on somebody else, most people don't know how to react to that.
It's extremely manipulative, isn't it? Because it places you, I guess it makes you feel like their life is in your hands. So,
Sure.
if you don't leave them, then, that they might kill themselves, then that's on you, that's your fault.
Yeah, how'd you like to live with that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, very manipulative. Okay. Tanya Saccone is here. Hi, Tanya. Says, same. I was with a narcissist for 10 years and married for 8 of them. He became very abusive and violent, actually starting from a week before we got married. I am now out of this marriage with my 3, just lost your question, with my 3 girls, but at the same time, I've been disowned by many of my own family members, let alone kids. Police and jail time, but still he is a total narcissist. I was so heartbroken till I saw the posts from Brighter Outlook. Thank you, Nova. Oh, look, my pleasure. Tanya, I'm just so thankful that you're out of that relationship, because no one deserves to be abused, and now you're out of it, you can heal and move on with the rest of your life. So I'm so glad that you've got some support here.
Yeah, good. And your daughters too don't have to be exposed to that either. Good.
Yeah, absolutely. Who else have we got? We've got Tanea Heater here. Hi, Tanea. Says, I never knew what was happening to me. It was my mum who told me what was happening, but even then I never listened until now. So yeah, that's the nature of narcissistic abuse, isn't it? You don't know. You don't know. You don't know you're being abused. Something's just off. How many victims
Even
do we hear about, David, that go, you know,
even
off?
when loved ones, yeah, even when loved ones tell you, will deny
Yeah,
it. Yeah,
yeah. Or even defend your abuser
absolutely.
because, yeah, because it's too painful to think that the person you are so traumatically bonded with is abusing you. So
And
we get rid of that. Yeah.
yeah,
And
everything I've invested for the last however many years is a complete failure. No, it's not. No, it's not. And I'm addicted to this person relationship. So, what do people do with addictions? Number one, I'll protect it. I'll do anything to keep that addiction. Yeah.
yeah, and it's very unhealthy, but that's what happens. You protect the addiction, right?
Yep. Yep.
Okay. We've got Jessica Holland here. Hi, Jessica. Jessica says, hi. When someone who doesn't know they're in a relationship with a narc believe from the abuse that they are the narc, hope that makes sense. Someone who doesn't know they're in a relationship with a narc believe from the abuse that they are the narc. Yeah, did you want to talk to that one, David?
Yeah.
Believing they're
Yeah. I mean, we don't even mostly know what narcissists really are, right? It's after this relationship we usually find this stuff out when it's so bad we want answers. We look and we find out the narcissist thing. And then we realize that we were in this huge abusive relationship, reactionary abuse. We aren't happy with the way we acted. We abused them too, maybe. Maybe we said bad things back to them. Maybe we cheated on them. Maybe we hit them back. Um,
yeah.
and all that's not okay. And that's why, we have lots of guilt, lots of shame in this relationship. You have somebody, it's real obvious that you're in a bad relationship, but you have the person telling you, taking no accountability and saying it's always your fault, it's always your fault, always your fault. You're gonna have guilt, you're gonna have shame after these relationships. And a lot of people do. Failed relationships, that's real common. Be depressed, things like this. So
And I
once
think
we find that narcissism word and we find out what it is, it's amazing how many victims will own that, but the narcissist will never. And that's something important to realize, that the narcissist isn't going to coaches or therapists and saying, am I a narcissist? Am I a narcissist? I feel like I might be the narcissist.
that,
Narcissists don't do that necessarily too much. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. It's all about, the difference is, I guess, David, is that the true victim who's going, oh, am I the narcissist? Am I the narcissist? Experiences remorse about their behavior, and they think, oh, look, I'm really not happy with what I did. That was terrible. I was acting just like them. And they experience remorse. And this is the difference between you and the true narcissist, the true abuser. They never experience remorse because whatever they do, it's because you deserved it. You deserved it.
And
Yeah,
they don't
there
want
is no,
people to know what they did. So the last thing they're going to do is go to a therapist and tell them. Yeah.
yeah, they didn't do anything wrong. Why would they go to a therapist? Yeah, and
I don't need to
that's,
fix anything. Yeah, that's not wrong too. Yeah.
yeah. Okay. We might just answer a couple more, guys. Who else have we got here? We've got Karen Connors there. Hi, Karen. Karen says, Nova, you are so accurate about swapping their life. Yeah, it's just so common, isn't it, David? We hear about that all the time, where they basically, if you used to go to a market on a Saturday morning, or if you used to, go camping in certain spots, so often the narcissist will go and do that with the next target. They will simply take their life and insert a new person and go and do all of those things with the new person. And that, I guess, just goes to show you that those things that you hold sacred, those memories, meant nothing to the narcissist. And yeah, that.
Plans. I'll see plans often. They'll do that. So a narcissist, or say a couple, agrees to get married in some foreign land, right? That they've never been to. And then they never get married, that relationship dissolves, and the narcissist moves on right away to another person and they get married in that foreign land. It's like that was your guys's plan,
That
you
was,
know, and he fulfills it, or he or she fulfills it with a new person. Yeah.
yeah.
Still carries out that plan, that goal. Still did
Yeah.
it,
Oh,
just with
yeah,
someone
yeah.
else. Yeah.
I hear about that all the time where they'll go and they'll go and if you're planning if they're planning on taking you on a holiday or they said they were going to, they will go and do that with the next target. And it's all about punishment and just making you suffer, because you sit there and you think, how can you do that? And this is because you have a normal range of emotions, that the narcissist, they don't care. They think it's
Yeah,
funny.
well,
Hilarious.
I still think that a narcissist will deal with their own internal turmoil of what's going on. Why can't I keep a relationship either? You know,
Oh,
and so I think that their immaturity, their, things like this, that they also will do things like that to make themselves feel better about failed relationships and stuff like this. I'm not the sick one. It's not my fault, right? If I
it's
care,
all,
if I go right into a new relationship and we look happy and we get married and we post a picture in some foreign country, then I'm the good one, you're the bad one.
yeah. I'm happy. Hey, look, I'm doing normal things. I'm happy. Look at all these happy snaps, and look at you
Yeah,
just sitting
yeah,
there going crazy. The problem is with you. Yeah.
right, right. I know we
Whereas,
always talked about visiting Russia. Look, here I am. We're in Russia. You didn't get to go. I did it because you're the sick one. You're the bad one.
yeah. Okay. Jessica Marie says, spot on, David. Ooh, hold on. We've got Courtney here. And Courtney says, hi, the family law court system definitely has some significant problems at the moment. I see both legitimate and false allegations of domestic violence regularly through the family court, and therein lies the problem. What I see on a regular basis is that family consultants and the courts are failing to recognise the impact on parents and children of domestic violence and are ignoring the importance of prevention of the abuse in the future, particularly if the abuse is emotional, psychological. I believe part of the problem lies in the fact that domestic violence allegations are so commonplace, as they are made in 99% of court matters.
Yeah,
That the
yeah, for
impact when
sure.
a person tells the court what they have gone through is less and is taken less seriously unless there is sufficient evidence, and rarely there is, to support the fact that the domestic violence occurred and the impact of the domestic violence on the children and the victim.
That's
That's
it.
Courtney. That's
Yeah.
my daughter. Courtney's a lawyer, so she sees this all the time. And this is that's so understandable, Courtney. And this is, I guess, here lies the problem too, is that people abuse the system, and especially
Yeah.
narcissists abuse the system, and they use that family court system, which makes it so much worse for the true victims. I used to see this a lot when I was working in child protection. We couldn't get out to investigate every abuse case because
Sure.
there was so many frivolous and malicious and vexatious calls coming in that you had to siphon through them and develop a threshold for which ones you would actually address, because the system was being used. And I guess that's what the problem is too in the family law court system, is that there are people out there that abuse the system and put forth frivolous claims, but this is where we need more experts to be able to sift through and to be able to, I guess, develop a threshold and siphon out the ones that are frivolous, perhaps malicious, vexatious, as opposed to the real ones. More experts, more experts. experts, more research.
What else can courts do? Yeah, what else can courts do without proof? They need proof.
That's the thing, whereas with, when I was in child protection, it could be grey. It didn't have to be black or white. It was just, you made an assessment, you had a threshold of harm, and it could be a grey area where you could, go in and intervene. Whereas, obviously, in the court system, I suppose, I'm not a lawyer, so I can't give too much, can't give any advice, but I suppose it's black and white, isn't it? If you don't have that evidence, you can't, if there's no evidence, you can't punish a party if the other party is claiming to be, the victim of abuse, and they haven't got any proof. There has to be proof. Otherwise, the system, where does it go? But,
well, what's the best defense for a narcissist, right? Allegations of abuse. Well, they abuse me. So, I mean, there's never one side, one party claiming abuse from the other, and that's it. It's always both claiming the abuse.
Blame shifting, that's their specialty. That's what they will do. They will blame shift and say, well, no, that was you, but, and that's where we need more experts. We need, and not to mention the time, that I guess a lot of these cases are taking, sometimes 1, 2, 3 years to get heard, and especially breaches. If you want to get a breach heard against your abusive ex, and you're saying, well, you've got to follow the system, you've got to, follow the rules and breach them and document everything. Well, what good does that do if, if your breach isn't being heard for months and months and months and months, and, all the stuff is still going on for that length of time? It's just so incredibly frustrating. I suppose this is where the system, needs improvement, more research, more experts. Yeah.
Yeah, right. That would be nice.
Yeah. Okay. We've got Laurie McDonald here. Laurie says, I've been no contact for 4 months, and he called my phone yesterday. Do they ever stop trying to pull you back in? David?
Yes. When they die. No, I'm just kidding. Yes. Usually they stop. Yes. I mean, not always. There's people that are obsessed and won't ever stop, I guess. But typically, yeah, they do, and it seems like they won't. Just always be aware of your reaction, what you're doing. So often, I'll talk to somebody that's consistently saying, God, they called again. God, they call again. They call every day. They call every week. This has been going on for months. I don't do anything. And I'll say, what do you mean? I'll say, well, I just tell them, leave me alone. Every time you answer the phone, every time, and tell you to leave you alone every time. And they go, yeah. I go, well, stop doing that. And they're like, really? I'm like, yeah, whatever it is. I mean, just stop. Nothing.
Yeah. Yeah, you've got to, it's like that game, what is it, whack-a-mole,
Yeah.
You hit them on the head, and then they pop up somewhere else, and you hit that one on the head, and then they pop up somewhere else. Well, you've just got to keep blocking pulse. Yeah. So they won't stop, Laurie, if you keep allowing them contact, and you've just got to keep patching up the holes as they find new ways to, I guess, to have contact with you.
This is you want to get out of their mind. You know what I mean? So this is a good time to, not pause, what do you call it? Your social media, like turn it off for a little while. So they can't see you. They can't see what you're doing. They don't know. Pay attention to who's giving them information. Maybe you have a mutual friend that keeps, oh, they're doing okay today. Oh, they felt bad today. Oh, nothing. Make sure that they don't hear anything about you, see anything about you, know anything about you. It really helps them because, they need to they're obsessing. They're obsessing.
Yeah. Yeah. And if people are feeding information back to them, then they're a flying monkey, and you need to say no contact with them too. If you've told someone, hey, do not talk to this person about my life. I do not want them to know what's going on with me, and people are doing that against your wishes, then that person is a flying monkey, and they are toxic too. And
yeah, they don't respect you or your wishes, how you feel. Yeah.
Okay, guys, we might just answer one more, and then we'll call it a night. We've got Rebecca Cott there. Hi, Rebecca. And we've got Melissa Drysdale there. Hey, Melissa. Shani B's there. Hey, Shani. Raymond's there. Hi, Raymond. I'll just see if there's anyone. I've missed. Emily's there. Hi, Emily. Taryn Woodlock's there. Oh, my goodness. Lorraine Macbeth is there. Linda Morris is there. So thank you, Nova and David. Our pleasure, Lorraine. Josie Watkins is here. Dominic Rivero. Okay, so one more, guys. And look, David and I apologise. We just can't get round to answering. But come back next week and the week after, and it just gives you an excuse to come back. But apologies in advance. Okay, so one more question, and we'll say goodnight. I'm just trying to find. Okay, we've got Brian War here. Hey, Brian. It's lovely to have some men here, so thank you for joining us here tonight. Brian says, I thought I was a victim of narcissistic abuse, but I'm starting to wonder if I was actually the narcissist without even knowing or trying. Yeah, and we just, did you want to talk to Brian about that, what we just spoke about, the fact that,
yeah. Tell us why you think that, Brian. Tell us why you think that. List, why do you think that? And in case he doesn't, I mean, what are some typical reasons? I went over some, and the guilt and the shame that we feel, I mean, look, if you've been in an abusive relationship for a long period of time, odds are that you didn't react very well. There are things that you did that weren't right as well. That goes with the territory. I'm not excusing it. Reactionary abuse is wrong. Reactionary abuse is abuse, and it's wrong. If we hit somebody, if we lied to them and cheated on them, and whatever it was, abuse is wrong. So if we're in a relationship with somebody where we reacted poorly, then we're going to feel horrible. We're going to feel bad. And like you said, Nova, remorse. We've got remorse. They do not. Closure in a relationship is so important so that we both parties understand exactly why it's ended, and both parties have taken some accountability. If you don't do this, if you don't understand, then we always take responsibility for it. If somebody hits you every day and you don't know why, you think it's just because you're a bad person. Once you learn that there's something wrong with that person's head that's hitting you every day, it somehow feels a little better. If we know why we felt so bad in a relationship or why somebody treated us bad or whatever, it helps us feel better. If we don't understand it, we think it's our fault, we deserve it. I'm the narcissist, right?
Yeah, and don't forget that, if we somehow start Googling, and doing a bit of research, and we happen to, call them on that and say, hey, this is what you're doing, you will simply have that projected back onto you by the narcissist. And of course, you look at your, I guess, some of those reactive behaviors that you're not happy about, you don't feel good about, you experience remorse about, and you start to think, oh, maybe it is me, and that's just the gaslighting.
And a victim reaction, a victim's thinking usually is so black and white. So like once that narcissist word is introduced in a relationship, it's like, is it them or me? Is it them or me? No, just if you want to know someone's a narcissist, it has nothing to do with you.
Yeah.
Right? So if they are, they are. Doesn't matter what you did or who you are or what you are. If they're a narcissist, they're a narcissist. And it's not that hard, guys, to go through the traits of a narcissist. There's 9 listed traits. You need 5 out of 9. It's not that difficult if you understand the traits. You'll get your answer. And what I've noticed doing this, narcissists usually clear about 8 or 9, about all of them. The rest of us victims tend to have none, 1, 2. Very rarely do I find anybody right on that 5 mark. It's pretty clearly defined.
Yeah. They don't get diagnosed, do they, David? Because they don't go to therapy. They don't think there's anything wrong. So the only people who diagnose them are you guys, and understandably, but that's how you do it. You go to have a look on the internet and look at those 9 traits that David's talking about. And if they fit into 5 of them, then you can rest assured that they are, somewhere on that narcissistic spectrum.
Or go see a doctor and find out. Get the truth. Ask them. They'll tell you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, David, we might leave it there, guys. Thank you so much for joining David and I this week. Yeah, it's fantastic to have you all here. And David, thank you for joining me here tonight and helping to co-host the show.
Thank you again, always. I really enjoy it. Thank you, Nova, and thank you, everybody. Thanks.
Yeah, well, I enjoy having you here, and I look forward to having you here in another 2 weeks. Everyone, David joins us here every second Tuesday, so David will be back in 2 weeks' time. So, yeah, David, go get some sleep. And yeah, guys, I don't know if all of you know, but David joins us all the way from Las Vegas, so he stays up till early hours, 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning, to join us every second week. So, yeah, very, very much appreciated, David. And yeah, I keep telling you, you're going to have to come here to Oz, and we won't have to split screen then.
Yeah, I want to go down under. Yeah.
Yeah, that would be awesome. I look forward to that.
It'd be awesome.
It will be. Okay. All right, David. Thank you once again, and I will talk to you soon.
Thank you very much. People that watch, people that support me, don't know Nova, go check out her channel, please. She started it not too long ago. And we want to grow. We want to get it up there. Brighter Outlook Counseling Service. I'll put the link in the description box. Follow the link. Hit subscribe, please. Thank you, guys. Thanks for having me again. We'll see you in a couple weeks.
Everyone, Brighter Outlook followers, please follow David Demars on Demars Coaching. David puts out numerous videos every week and is just clearly a wealth of knowledge when it comes to narcissistic abuse and other, I guess, issues to do with that and borderlines and things like that. So, yeah, please subscribe to Demand Coaching. Okay, David, I will talk to you soon and have you back here, as always, in 2 weeks.
Okay, thank you. Good night, Australia. Bye-bye.
See you, David. Bye. David, I can't, oh, there you go. Just having trouble clicking David out. Okay, guys. Yeah, love having David here. And David is with us. David Demars is here every second Tuesday to co-host the show with me. And yeah, and I just look forward to that so much. Love doing the live streams with David. To you guys. On that note, I guess I'd like to say goodbye. Thank you for joining me. It's wonderful to have you here. Please support each other, guys. There's nothing like, knowing that there's other people out there that understand what you've gone through. Narcissistic abuse is so isolating, and at the very least, obviously destructive. It destroys lives, but it's so isolating. So please support each other. If you'd like to have a one-on-one counselling session with me, I am a professional counsellor on the north side of Brisbane, but I Skype people all over the world. So it doesn't matter where you are in the world. I can provide counselling and support. That's my area of expertise, and it certainly is my passion, is to help victims to overcome the trauma of narcissistic abuse. So just inbox me here at Brighter Outlook, and I'd love to be able to support you in your narcissistic abuse recovery. On that note, guys, I'd like to say goodbye. See you all next Tuesday night. These live streams are on every single Tuesday night, 7 p.m. Brisbane, Australia time. So wherever you are in the world, please adjust your clock so that you're here at the right time. If you don't get to see it live, don't stress, that it will always be on David Demars' timeline, David's YouTube channel, my YouTube channel. Don't forget David's YouTube channel is called Demars Coaching. And it will also be on Brighter Outlook's timeline. So, yeah, you will always get to see it if you're not here live. Okay, so, yeah, guys, have a wonderful week. See you all next Tuesday. Remember your worth and then add tax. Bye, everyone.